Want to see how an entire building works at a glance? A floor plan brings its rooms, relationships, and movement into a single view, making it one of the most useful drawings in architecture. Welcome back to the Rhino Studio series, and let's get into studio mode. We'll look at the basics of a floor plan, how to design through plan, and the workflow for developing one with Rhino. But before we begin designing, what is a floor plan? A floor plan is a horizontal section cut through a building, typically about 4 feet or 1.2 meters above the finished floor. It shows how a space is arranged, enclosed, and used. As you develop a floor plan, remember these 4 key factors: where the plan is cut, the height of the cut, what elements are shown, and how those elements communicate the way the space functions. A complete plan carries 4 main families of information. Enclosure includes the exterior walls, interior partitions, and structure that define the space. Openings include doors and windows that allow people, light, air, and views to pass through it. Fixed elements include cabinetry, plumbing fixtures, closets, and other components built into the architecture. And movable elements include beds, desks, tables, and sofas. But here is the real point. A floor plan is not simply a drawing of walls. It organizes use, movement, and relationships by answering a series of design questions. First, how should spaces be zoned? Shared spaces such as the kitchen, dining room, and living room can be grouped together, while bedrooms and bathrooms sit within quieter, more protected areas. Next, which spaces belong together? That is adjacency, placing the kitchen beside the dining area, the bathroom near the bedroom, and service spaces along a shared wet wall reduces travel and makes the layout more efficient. Then, how should people move through the plan? That is circulation. Clear, logical paths should connect the rooms without dead ends or awkwardly cutting through the way a space is used. Finally, how should each space work? That is use and function. Rooms need to fit their furniture, support daily activity, receive appropriate light, and remain flexible enough to adapt over time. Drafting hierarchy is what makes a floor plan easier to read. Cut elements define the primary spatial structure and read heaviest. Projected elements such as doors, windows, fixtures, and furniture read lighter to provide context and show how the space is used. Supporting graphics including hatches, dimensions, and notes read lightest so they clarify the drawing without overpowering it. In episode 1, we imported and scaled our sketch. Then, traced a preliminary set of walls and openings. That first pass translated the idea into Rhino, but it was still a sketch of the layout. In episode 2, we placed our approximately 26 by 40 foot or 8 by 12 meter footprint on the site and tested it against axis, context, and orientation. Now that the building belongs to its site, we can redesign the interior with more architectural intention. Our brief calls for a compact, single-level dwelling with an open kitchen, dining, and living space, a primary bedroom and full bathroom, laundry and storage, and a covered threshold connecting to the site. It also includes a flexible secondary room with its own exterior entrance and an interior door from the primary bedroom. This allows it to work independently as an office or guest room, or become part of the private suite. The program is deliberately compact. The goal is not to solve the plan by adding area, but to make every relationship, opening, and dimension work harder. Good design is not only about fitting the program. It is about creating spaces that feel connected, comfortable, and supportive of daily life, ultimately improving the well-being of the people who inhabit them. Now, let's turn that footprint and program into a working floor plan with Rhino. Follow along and pause whenever you need to. Open the file from episode 2 or download the current series file using the link in the description. First, let's take a look at our plant layers. Each layer corresponds to a specific type of information. Plan seal is for ceilings above the cut plane. Plan door is for door leaves and swings. Plan floor holds fixed furniture, while plan fern is for movable furniture. Plan glaze organizes glazing and windows. Plan roof contains roof and overhang outlines. Plan shade holds poché'd shading and fill. Plan stairs is for stairs and treads. And plan wall contains the cut wall, which carries the heaviest line weight. And other than that, we'll be using the annotation layers for dimensions, labels, and grids. We'll keep the overall footprint at approximately 26 by 40 feet or 8 by 12 meters. Copy that footprint from the site plan into the working area, or recreate it using rectangle. Then, go to Object Properties and override its line type to hidden and its display color to red so the footprint remains clearly identifiable as a reference. Next, create a light planning grid. On the Anno Grid layer, draw one horizontal line, then use Array Linear and input the number of elements you want arrayed and their spacing, which in our case is 5. Then, draw a vertical line extending beyond the footprint and array it as well. The idea is that we'll be using a 5 by 5 foot module in the imperial file, or approximately 1.5 by 1.5 meters in the metric file. Working with a modular grid can help guide early decisions about room sizes, structural rhythm, and circulation. You could also use a smaller 4 foot or 1.2 meter module for more flexibility. Now that we've discussed the general plan, make plan wall active and begin with the exterior enclosure. There are 2 ways to draw the walls. The first is to draw a polyline, then use offset to create the wall thickness. The second is to use the parallel lines option within polyline. Set the offset direction to left, right, or both, depending on whether you want to control the outside face, inside face, or center line of the wall. For this plan, we'll control the outside face and offset inward by 8 inches or approximately 200 millimeters, and set the corner option style to sharp. Now, begin by drawing the outer rectangle using the ADU footprint as your boundary. Rather than extending every wall to the exact edge of the preliminary footprint, we'll align the enclosure with the planning grid. This keeps the early design consistent while leaving room to refine the dimensions later. Next, use the zoning diagram and planning grid to position the interior partitions. Before drawing, use the residential planning reference sheet to compare common starting dimensions for bedrooms, bathrooms, circulation, kitchens, and utility spaces in imperial and metric. Start with the first major partition separating the public and private zones. For this plan, we'll reserve approximately 17 feet or 5.2 meters for the combined kitchen and living area. Next, reserve approximately 10 feet or 3 meters for the bathroom and office zone. This is the minimum width we want to maintain for a comfortable room. Within this service zone, allow approximately 6 feet or 1.8 meters for the bathroom. Add another horizontal partition to define the laundry and water heater area, allowing approximately 2 feet 8 inches or 0.8 meters of depth. On the south side, recess the bedroom wall by 5 feet to the grid and have it create a small patio. The recess gives the bedroom a more protected connection to the outdoors, and when combined with a future roof overhang, can help manage direct solar gain on the south side. Then, add 2 foot or approximately 600 millimeter recesses along the north and south edges where we want more protected openings. These shifts give the facade additional depth while creating shaded transitions between the interior and exterior. Once the partition and recesses are in place, use trim to remove the overlapping lines. Then, use join to connect the wall boundaries into continuous closed loops. One thing I often find while designing is that a single decision can create several opportunities. The patio began as a response to sunlight, but it also shapes the building's form and creates an outdoor space that can connect both rooms. This is where function, form, and emotion begin to work together. Now, let's test whether the rooms can support their intended use. Copy the symbols from the template and place them on their respective layers. Place beds, desks, dining tables, sofas, and other movable objects on planned furniture. Place cabinetry, appliances, laundry equipment, and other built-in elements on planned floor. Furniture gives each room a human scale. A bedroom label may fit inside a rectangle, but the bed, storage, door swing, and path around them reveal whether the room balances function, form, and emotion. Use the reference sheet included with this episode to compare common furniture sizes and planning clearances in imperial and metric. Keeping all of that in mind, let's start with the kitchen because it contains the greatest concentration of fixed elements and services. Common arrangements include one wall, galley, L-shaped, and U-shaped kitchens. The reference sheet compares how each one organizes storage, work surfaces, and circulation. For this compact plan, we will use an L-shaped kitchen to keep the center open and create a clear edge for dining. You may also want to take a look at the kitchen triangle, a classic design principle to fine-tune the workflow between your main appliances. Place a dining table beside the kitchen, then position the living area toward the strongest daylight and outdoor connection. Use the furniture to confirm that the entry path moves through the room without cutting awkwardly between the seating. If the layout feels compressed, move your partition wall. It is easier to adjust a plan while it is still line work than after it becomes a three-dimensional model. On the opposite side of the kitchen wet wall, place the bathroom. Use the bathroom layout reference to compare compact arrangements for the toilet, lavatory, and tub or shower. Choose an option that maintains practical clearances and a door location that does not interfere with the fixtures. Keep the laundry and water heater near the service core when equipment requirements allow it. Grouping these functions reduces unnecessary long service runs and helps the compact plan work efficiently. We're going to place the bedroom along an exterior wall for natural light and ventilation. Lay out the primary bedroom around the bed. Make sure you leave usable space along the sides, providing a clear path to storage. And add some additional touches like a TV stand in front of the bed. Finally, develop the flexible secondary room. We will furnish it as a home office, but know that its size could support a guest bed or other future uses. Some things you could add in here would be a desk, chair, treadmill, or anything else you might seem fit. Now, step back and check the full arrangement. The rooms should not only fit their relationships, but should also support the way the dwelling is intended to balance function, form, and emotion. Doors and windows should always be functional, rather than being added wherever there is leftover wall, but balance form and function if possible. Copy the door symbol, draw the two perpendicular lines to mark each jamb, then run trim and remove the wall segments between them, then rotate or mirror it to show the correct swing if needed. The main entrance should lead clearly into the public zone. Once placing your door in the right place, one of my favorite ways to scale a symbol to a specific size is using the scale command with reference. Typical nominal interior door widths are often 2 feet 6 inches or 2 feet 8 inches, while a 3-foot door provides a wider opening. In this case, since this will be our main entrance, let's scale it to a 3-foot opening. Make sure that when placing private room doors, they protect views into the bedroom and bathroom, and every swing should clear fixtures, cabinets, and circulation. On planned glaze, place windows according to what each room needs. Use larger glazing to connect the living area to daylight views and the patio. When placing windows, align each one with a clear reference point in its room. For example, center the bedroom window on the bed, the office window within the width of the room, the bathroom window on the tub, and the kitchen window on the sink. Openings are part of the enclosure, but their line work should read lighter than the solid wall being cut. At this point, quickly turn off planned glaze, planned floor, and planned firm to isolate the wall geometry. We're only keeping planned door on because we need the sliding door to create a closed loop with the wall. Make planned shade active and run hatch. Select the closed wall boundaries you want to poché'd, apply solid fill, and use center back so the hatch sits behind the wall line work. Now, turn your layers on and let's add some lighter floor finish hatches where they help distinguish rooms or materials. Let's select the grid pattern and adjust its scale until it reads appropriately within the space. To keep the hatch subtle, go to Object Properties and lower the opacity of its display color so it supports the wall hierarchy rather than competing with it. Then, set the print color to match the display color for a consistent exported result. Next, use dim or dim align to add the footprint. You could also add room names on anno text. The amount of annotation and labeling will depend on your studio requirements. Now, turn on Print Display for a final hierarchy check. Cut wall should read first, followed by doors, windows, fixtures, and furniture. Hatches, dimensions, and notes should remain lightest. Also, confirm that the zoning, adjacencies, movement, and furniture layouts are clear at a glance. Finally, let's export the plan as a PDF. Then select the scale of 1/4 inch equals a foot, then press print. This is what the final results should look like. Now, let's pull everything together. Space is defined through enclosure, so we drafted walls, partitions, and spatial edges. Plans organized living patterns, so we trimmed openings and placed furniture clearly. Hierarchy guides visual clarity, so we organized layers, line weights, and hatches. For this episode's exercise, develop your own plan within the project footprint. Include closed walls with real thickness, functional doors and windows, fixed and movable elements on separate layers, and a hierarchy that remains readable. In the next episode, we will use the plan to project and develop the building elevations. Download the template and the full episode guide using the link in the description. Like this video and subscribe to follow along with the full Rhino Studio series. We'll see you in studio!